you doing today? Hello. Okay, let's see if I can remember. Annette and Betty and Mary R and Alice. And I think that that's who we have currently. So, hi, guys. And ah, I also see that there's dinner eaten. So, that's great. My mom always has to end up excusing herself from the class because she has to feed my father, which I don't understand because the reason why my mom married my dad was because the first time that she had dinner at his place, he made her a chocolate cake. And she said that did it. That sealed the deal because he knows how to cook because she didn't. Not really. She never wanted to be in the kitchen. So now that I've told all about my mom and I've let the cat out of the bag, let's get going. Okay. So I was complaining because I do that sometimes. And these were in the What's New Wednesday. And I love the little tops on the Nelly blender. I like that it's rounded. I think that you get more on your surface better with this than just flat across. And I do like that on this piece. But each time while I was trying to put them away for the demo today, I set it upright and it kept falling over on me. And this is crazy. I don't know that I like this because I don't want ink all over the place. Again, complaining. I do that. Um, so I came up with the solution and they fit perfectly. So this is our Nuvo drops holders, and Debbie uses them to hold her stickles. She uses them to hold her glue bottles. She uses them to hold lots of different things. So now she's gonna get to hold these, and they fit perfect. You can pick them up, pick them down. They don't fall out. So I love my Nuvo cases. I think that I need to have one more though. Okay, guys. In our kit today, you're gonna find some little sequins and little bits and pieces of pretties. Debbie was absolutely right. In fact, I intentionally made it with the darker blues and the stars in it because uh, it rains all the time. I mean, it rains all the time there. I think that there are maybe 5 or 6 really nice, bright. No, I'm kidding. I'm exaggerating, but there are very few bright days, and they have races, but their races are mud races. Yes, they race through the countryside and they get all muddy, and it's who has the most mud on them at the end of the race and still makes it in first. So they bog jumping, they do that too. So you get on one side and you try and jump the bog, and you end up a lot of times in the bog and they have to pull you out. So telling a few different things about why I put this confetti in this shaker card today. So Debbie was correct. I was trying to make some sort of a rain looking sequence for the shaker. And so I wanted to show you guys what I do, and it's kind of handy because I can take, okay, so I use blue a lot, and I use pink a lot, and I use corals a lot. That tends to be some of my colors that I lean towards when I'm doing cards. And so you can always use lots of blue pretty much in everything, but if you lean towards purple, we'll use this as a purple example. You can get sequins in all different colors. These are the Nuvo ones, but we've got lots of sequins in the store. And then the rest of them are called confettis instead of sequins. So it's not round. And these sequins are flat. They don't have that little cup in them. They are flat. So it makes moving in the shaker card better for you, which is a big difference between doing that and actually putting the regular sequence in. Then I use some sort of a white. Doesn't have to be this one. I like the rainbow because it gives you lots of different colors that it reflects off of. And in this particular case, I have the mirror ball stars in the little baggie, and then I had the sapphire blue. So I try and take at least one base, whether it's white and gold. Let me pull that back a little bit. Whether it's white and gold or white and silver. And then if I have an extra piece of confetti, like the little pink blossoms that we used last week, I mixed that with some golds and some extra sequins. But my trick is that I use usually 4. So here's a purple, here's a white, here's a silver, and then you could put in seeds, those seed beads, but just something, just one other thing that will complement the colors. And so if you have coral, then this would be your main color of coral in your piece, and then maybe gold. You never know. But these are the ones that I put together this time around, and I only used, this bottle was almost empty to begin with, but I only used, well, what you see here, I filled all the kits with. You can see it's basically still full, and I have this much left over. So, oops, not even able to see if I hold it above my head, huh? So this is how much I have left over, and it's fun to be able to just have them mixed and ready to go. So choose some of your favorite colors and mix them up while you've got the chance. One day, just have a lot of fun playing with your sequins. Grab yourself one of the confetti sequence trays, bead seeds, and just kind of make up packs for colors. So then that way you never have to really worry about it anymore. You've got them in where you want them, and you can use these multiple times in multiple different ways. So you could just start with 2 or 3 and start mixing and having a lot of fun. So I wanted to make sure that I showed you how much we actually get out of one of these, and we've got plenty to fill our little shaker card. So with that, these are the cards that we are going to make today. They are the Harbourside. This one is a happy birthday 3D deco. Boop, 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 that way. This is a happy birthday, relax, unwind, and enjoy your very special day. And then I put a happy birthday on, look, they're traveling cards. A happy birthday on it at the top, and a few little hearts. We've got a DL card, and so I was able to get 4 cards out of this group, which is kind of rare. So this last 2 times I've been able to do 4. And it's just kind of thinking about how to use your items that you have and break them up. And I believe that my last one that I am doing in this you get me every Thursday thing for the last, what, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow. So, next week I'm doing another deco one, and it's the little kittens. And I believe I got 4 cards out of that group too. I'll double check. Okay. Yes, old-timey salt and pepper shakers. I agree. It does look like that. Okay, so what you'll have in your kit, as we just discussed, you'll have a little bit of confetti. You should have a foamy, and I cannot remember. Honestly, I cannot remember because it's not in. This was just set into the box, and I can't remember if you guys got these in your kits or if you got the regular little squares. So I don't remember, but one of your 2 kits, it's either this one or the kitty cats, are going to end up with the foam tape, or possibly both. You should have a small piece of acetate, about the size of an A6. You do not need very much at all. It's a little tiny piece, but it's also a little tiny hole that we're making. So here's our acetate. We have a DL size for mirri. You'll see a ripple silver holographic from Hot Off the Press. I have a few happy birthday stickers, thinking of you stickers, and another happy birthday. So I tried to break it up with something a little different for shapes and sizes this time around. I wrote my notes down on the back of a card. So this is our last card that we're going to make, because here's all of my nice little measuring notes. Which means you're making the easiest card last, guys. Okay. You'll have your, and these are big. They are not small little deco pieces. So you have to kind of get creative when you have such big pieces with what you're going to do with your items. So we have these. You have one saying here, and then here you have your main back page, and then you have your two borders and your relax right here. I did use our frames, so we want to make sure that when we punch this out, which we're going to do here in a minute, we're going to go through and punch it out very carefully so that we're not going to rip the frame. So I'm going to start here. This one goes on your DL card. So you can just set that one aside with your DL card shape. And so here's my DL. Just going to move it on over here. And why not, since we're at it, I used the circle for the best right there. And I used the little border right here. It's the one with the little steering wheel on it. What is that called? There's a specific name for it, but the wheel that you stand behind and move your ship forward to go left or right. See? Haha, somebody's got to have the answer to this one because I can't come up with it.
Trivia question.
Yeah. Okay, so that is our first card that I just set aside, and set aside the red and the gold mirri to that card set, because we're just going to get them up and out of the way, so we're not going to worry about it. But the first card that we're going to do is the shaker card, and that's because the way that we cut this cardstock piece is going to matter. So I want to set out my frame for this one. I want to do the pop outs of all of my items, and I'm going to try and put them with each card. Because I ended up with 2 birds left over that I had to take apart some of my foamies to put the added pieces in, because I just thought that they looked full with what they had. Oh, and by the way, I lost the little bird with the red face, and after I cleaned everything off the desk, it was way off here in the corner of the desk where you can't even, you wouldn't even think to look. So I think it decided it was going to fly in the process. They do, they come to life, don't you know? Craft items everywhere.
Mary says it's a ship's wheel, and Alice says some people call it the helm.
The helm. Thank you. That's the one that I couldn't remember. Okay. We don't need anything off of that piece. So this is the biggest. I want to make sure that I say the right one. Because I want to just set it aside so I don't accidentally use it. Okay, so this is the piece. I got it from right here on your set. This is the one that goes with that DL card. So this little piece, nope, I take it back. there is one more in here. It is this piece. So it's the shorter, longer one that's sitting right here. So that goes with your DL card making, and that's it. The base and the DL card. The top, just one single topper, because they are big, like I said. Okay, then from there, we're going to look at the next one, and I truly am just setting up my cards to make them so that I have everything that I am going to need later and that I don't mess them up. So this next card, you're going to find that this is a DL card. It had too much for it to make it a European A6. So what I did was I took a DL card, I got the paper as far as I could stretch it, and then I just cut off the end of the DL. So it is a unique shape, so you'll want to use a DL envelope that we provided for you, and that's why you have two longer cards on here. So on this one, I have my DL card. I have give me just a second here. Nope, it has the houses. It has the one house. Okay, so this is the one that you're going to use for this DL card. And I got that one from the bottom down here. Nope, the top right there. Okay. Sorry, confusing you. It's like playing a puzzle, and I'm not doing very good at it apparently. So I have that, and then I have one of the little boats, the big red boat, and the little white and blue boat. There it is. So the little red boat, the little white blue boat. And there's another tinier little tiny fishing boat type, but this is the fancier go out to hang out on the water boat. So that is this DL card. So I'm going to set that one aside. Where's my thinking of you sticker? And I have a little tiny bit of the word border on this one. So I'm just going to put the word border with it and set that one aside. Okay, from there, we're going to move to the actual A6 and put that one together as far as what we're going to use for it, because I just don't want to mess up my pieces this time because it will be important. Okay, so we're going to use this little guy, and you're going to say, but it's not the same. You'll find that it is not the same. So I'm going to show you the tricks that I made in order to extend it and give it a little bit more of a 3D effect, but this is the piece. And this piece right here. So on your piece of paper, it's down at the very bottom right-hand side. So I'm going to give him that piece. And I'm giving him the little boat, the little smaller boat. Okay. And then we'll make the frame and use the cardstock for the rest of this, and grab your happy birthday sticker and set that aside. I don't believe that it's in the listing, but you'll want to grab a paper towel or a napkin for a trick that we're going to do. And so just have one handy. Do not use a wipe, because a wipe will create too much moisture. You don't want a wet towel. You just want a dry paper towel or napkin. So this is our last one, and this is our 5x7. So this is where we're starting. Now I can get rid of this piece. As soon as I say it goes on the bottom on the left-hand side. If you're holding it that way, I guess it would be right-handed if you're facing you. So sorry about that, guys, if I've confused you. And I have one more boat hanging out here, and I think I had dropped it underneath. So we'll have to figure out where that one goes. All right. So first things first, we want to cover our card. Get rid of my envelopes. Hi, Roberta. Sorry, I'm reading the notes. I was looking to see if Margie had the opportunity to answer about how her brother is doing. Okay, so I am going to cut from this area, and I want to make sure that I am not wasting anything because I'm going to use this little tiny piece of paper. So you want to make sure that you use as much as you possibly can. So I'm going to turn it so that it's this way. I'm going to put it back behind, tape it, and just cut it. Because I'm not a straight cutter and I cannot waste this, I'm going to end up marking my paper on the back and cutting it with the cutter. So just a heads up. Okay, and that is at 5 inches exactly. So you're going to cut the back, the entire section of this card. Just go ahead and cut it all the way off because we aren't going to do anything that we need a specific size for the rest of it. We'll use this top a little bit later, but for right now, I'm just going to take it. Use the tape. Good, I'm glad, Margie. Annette, are you still feeling under the weather? So I know that Debbie said something about it last night, but it snowed on Monday at my house. A little over 3 inches was sitting on my car when I looked at it at 10 a.m. I hadn't looked outside. I was busy. I was doing other things, and I hadn't looked. And I opened up the door, and there was 3 inches on my car at 10 a.m. So they had canceled school. They started with a 2-hour delay, but then they canceled school. And then last night we had hail here at Bryce and Debbie's, and the hail was the size of raisins and peas. They were big. So, and they stuck around for quite a while, and then it decided that it was needed some sprinkles of hail, I guess, that were smaller, but those also stuck around for quite a while. I don't know when they melted off.
Not till today.
Not till the day.
Yeah, it was still this morning. There was hail.
It was cold.
And anything that had started melting last night refroze into little puddles of ice on the deck.
I had sent a message to Ashley last night saying, hey, there's hail. I've tried to wipe off a clear path for you, but just be very, very careful. And then it was melted off by the time that we got around to it. Yes, I did. Just because it's fun, I put that on upside down. Okay, here we go, guys. Serious business here. No more talking. telling you, this talking and chewing gum thing and walking, too many things to do. I realize I'm not walking right now, but I'm crafting. And I think I'm going to cut this off again just because I don't cut straight. I think I'm just going to use the cutter for this top because I am going to use every single piece of this cardstock. So I just don't want to mess it up to where it's not handy and ready. And so you're going to see a little piece like this, and that's actually going to go with your big happy birthday wording that we cut off a part of a DL card. So if you want to set that aside with that card, you totally can right now. Okay. Set aside this. Okie dokie, let's see. So we're going to take our relax out, and we're going to cut out this frame, and we're going to put that with our happy birthday card. Since we're doing it, we're going to do it right now. Give yourself the most room. Let me restate this. Right through here, we're going to use this outer section of the frame. So try and give it a small amount, but just enough that you can see the blue. I tried to just make it to where it was barely showing any blue on this little frame down here. So we're going to cut this one off. We're going to use this one. So we're going to also cut it off here and cut off the gold piece here. Okay. Cut off the top, tear off the extra little piece. You don't have to be so specific with that. Try and cut as close to that gold line to get the gold line off as you can.
Mary R says, I don't know how you and Debbie do it. I can't explain, do, and read at the same time.
Well, I tell you, my brain is tired when I'm done. Okay, that is a very, very thin little line. Look at that. Can barely see it, I'm sure, but that's my gold piece. I don't have a sliver of blue, and I think I got most of the frame. Nope, not all of it. It actually looks a little crooked. Yeah, I always feel like I'm not talking as much, and then I feel badly. Okay, got the rest of the gold off of it that time. Cut off the other side so that it's equivalent. I accidentally took a little bit off that one side. Take off my end frame first. Set the little frame for the happy birthday. Okay, so right now we're taking and we're going to put our 5x7 that we've put our village on. We're going to set that off to the side because we're going to make our shaker card as we go. Okay. I want you to try and get your piece of frame at the very top as close to not overlapping in the back, but you do need it. So make sure that you do the overlapping, but that you are going to barely do it because we need, again, I've used every inch of this paper if I recall right. I don't know. It's been a week. It's a blur. So lay it on out. And I'm going to mark it here on the edges so that I know where to cut. I'm going to cut right here. And this you are going to cut at, I know the ruler was here. Then it became here. Here it is. Okay. So we're going to take and use that middle section as far as where this is going to go. So you're going to take your frame, measure out where to cut this piece of the topper card right here. So we're going to cut it right here on the edge. So mark that. And then from there, we're going to cut from, and I'm just going to measure from the top of the middle circle, kind of halfway between the actual frame and the gold where it starts to slip down. And we are going to want to cut a piece that is, looks like about 2 3/4. So I want to cut here and I want to cut down 2 3/4. So let me mark that at the same time. Okay, and try and I think the best way to do this is to cut it from here on the side first and then cut down, because we want to make sure that we aren't cutting down into the bottom of this paper. So you're going to want to cut this line first instead of this line first, because it's really hard to see where do I stop. So we're going to cut that 2 3/4 line. I think that I ended up with this little tiny square at the top, but just in case, I'm going to try and cut as close as I can. There we are. So here's our piece. Go ahead and set that to the side now, because we're going to use it somewhere else. So we have our top piece here. We're just going to take it and glue it to the back of this. Now you can do that with tape or you can do it with glue, and I'm hopefully going to do it with glue. I never know whether the glue bottles are going to stick or not, because Debbie plays with them. Okay, that one's stuck.
You have a bunch more in your thing already tipped down.
Oh, good. Okay, I moved it out of the way. I think that one's clogged. Thank you for seeing that, Bryce. And if these, now this happens because you leave the bottle off of the item, and you know, it's hard for me to remember to put the bottle tip down, but bottle tip back on, and to turn it upside down, because that's part of it. Okay, so I'm going to try and put it as close as I can to that bottom section, and you can, because we glued it, you can move it around to get it where you want it to be. Otherwise, you're just not going to get it straight enough, or you can possibly you don't know exactly how it's going to line up. So I always do these types of things with glue. So I'm going to cut any excess off of this side and any excess off of this side. Okay. I'm just dropping garbage on the floor because the garbage can isn't there anymore. I don't know what happened to it. Okay, so you're going to then take your piece here and you're just going to put it right here at the bottom. So just like that, and we're going to glue that in as well. And it fits right in that frame. Don't ask me how I lucked out with this because I just kind of stared at the pages for a really long time going, how am I going to get more than 2 cards out of this? And how am I going to make it work so it's something fun and exciting to do something that we haven't done before? So those are usually my 2 goals. And then I have to think about what we have at the store when I'm working at home and making these cards this last time I was here. So anything I knew that I was grabbing, I knew that it was here. But it really, it's really tough sometimes because I'll think that I have something that the store has and then the store doesn't have it. And then we can't make the kit. So I have learned to make a plan, at least a little bit of a plan before I turn around and start making. I double check our amount that we have. Okay, and then you're going to take this piece and you're going to glue it onto the bottom. Now, this is the part where you're going to grab your 5x7. Do not glue it. We're just going to lay it on here to make sure that we have it correct to size and that we're not going to make our boats go too far askew. Okay. So I put it all the way down here and I move it over a little bit. And I'm cutting off a little bit out of both sides, but if you can see here on this one, I don't know that you really can because of the shaker, but I kind of moved my my houses over just a little tiny bit to know where to make my cutoffs because like I mentioned last week, I want the end of this house right here on this edge. What I mentioned last week was the reason why I like to do that is because it kind of gives it a little bit more of a 3D effect. Now, if you want to make your shutter card a little bit smaller and your shaker card a little bit bigger, you can move this way up if you want and make this entire little section your window, and you'll see here what I mean. Excuse me. So we want to go ahead and slide the frame out because I now know where I'm going to need my boats to sit. And I get all this area right through here. And on up there. Because basically what we're doing this whole time is making a little window. sure it's going to sit where we want it to sit. Okay. What I do see is that I've got a little bit of overhang on my frame right there. So I'm just going to clip it off so it blends with the background. And I'm going to put it right about there. So that's looking good. I've got it in the right places. Yay! And from here, we're just going to cut off the excess from around the frame. Specifically on this side, we want to cut the rounded piece off, leave the straight parts of that on. And then on this side, we have a good amount to cut off. And so this part isn't going to really throw our framing off at all, but this one was close enough. I was worried about it possibly catching a little bit because this side is a little bit thinner because I cut it really close. So now I have this little window in the middle, and you can, like I said, you can lift this up and move it up higher if you want a bigger window and put it right smack in the middle of this framing, honestly, and not have the happy birthday on it. But I wanted that little bit of extra space. So from here, now that we have this all glued, and we know that we've got it where we want it, we're going to take our handy dandy acetate. Look, forgot the top. Got it on. There we go. So I handed you a piece of, I cut a piece of acetate that was fairly small because we don't need a big size on this. We're not going that far, but you do want to make sure that it is all the way across your framing and that you've cut up into this top piece. Okay, so make sure that you don't just cut where the little relax, have a great unwind. You don't want to cut the acetate there. You actually want to get it up here on the top because this is the most sturdy part that we have. So we want to make sure that that's not going to pop off. You can just use the entire section of acetate that I gave you and just trim it to the size if you want. Just remember that the bigger that you make your piece, the more likely that it's not going to sit down at the bottom like you would hope. So it goes right there. I'm going to glue that on. And I'm going to give it a good amount of glue. I don't know what I'm thinking because I'm not gluing where the acetate's going. Okay. Frame down. I'm going to take this glue off the bottom because I got excited and went and started trying to glue where I didn't need glue yet. Okay. So I'm taking my piece, I'm moving it right up, and you can see it solidifying on there. You'll want to make sure that it gets all the way down and on. So see, there we are. So now you've made yourself your window for your acetate. right there. So that's where we're at. I'll be glad when you have some more weather that will help. Oh. It is hard with the cold weather. You just kind of ache. At least I ache. Okay, so there we have it. And then we're going to go through with our foam. If you can open your foam, that is. I liked that because these are big deco sheets. I did like that we've got the bigger strips of foam, so we were able to do it a lot. I was able to do it a lot faster by having the extra pieces and having them be so big. Then I didn't have to put so many on, and then I also didn't have, it wasn't as take me so long to peel them off.
Yeah, it's definitely an advantage there.
Did you bring your blanket in with you that you're making?
Yeah.
Have you finished for the day?
My back says I have.
Oh, hey, that works. You gotta pay attention to what your body is telling you, right?
Unfortunately.
Okay, I'm just gonna use a piece of my tape from my craft style tape that I just used to put the 5x7 on, and I'm putting it on the back side of this strip because I know that we've talked about making it easier in the past for not causing your scissors to gum up. So just having that extra backing on it will keep your scissors from gumming up with the foam. Okay, so see, I've used half of my tape. I could truly have used a big piece all the way up, but I would be wasting my tape for that. So I try and save every little bit, as we all know. Can't believe it when Debbie said she was going to have a put a bird on it special last night. It cracked me up. And deciding on how much you want your shaker card to show or not. I put mine up at the very where the boats are. I put it I tried to move it to the very high lowest point to where you won't see the foam in there. And nice and snug so that nothing can come out. I need a little bit of a thinner spot, I think. think Celebrex is what they were talking about putting me on. I think that was it. You like it, Mary R? Sounds like you get better. Yeah. We're having to change up some of my medicines because as I get older, the longer that I have my chronic, keep in mind it's chronic, so that means that you get it for all your life. Unfortunately, no, it really isn't. I was afraid that this wasn't going to be thin enough, so I need to take this section off and rework it with a thinner piece. Here's my piece. I took it off and set it aside because once you lift up a piece of foam like this, when it comes to a shaker card, you want to make sure that you're not using it after you've pulled it, because you're losing some of your strength when you do that, and you definitely don't want to lose the strength in the card. Okay, pull out your handy dandy embossing folder. Get it nice and make sure that you do your little inside pieces right through here so that you don't end up having the confetti stick to the edges. And I just line mine up and off we go. Okay, so I see that I can put it right along my tree line through there, and then I'm not going to hit I'm going to be able to get it in the right space. So here's my tree line. And I absolutely, since this is such a tiny little square, you can have a lot or you can have a little. Totally your choice. No rights or wrongs when it comes to that. Okay, so I put it in the middle, just like that. I forgot to do this. I have found that if you can do it not just on the acrylic, but on the card as well, it will help keep it from sticking. Now, that being said, when you use it, you want to make sure that you get your area clean of any around the edges of where that foam is going to be, or else your foam is just not going to stick. Okay, peel off your foam. Not on the tape. Correct. Correct. Around the acetate, but near the tape. Exactly. So you want to just put it right on. Too close. Okay, so now you've made your little window. Make sure that you seal it on all the edges. Hi, Irene. And then here, you just want it to go to the edge of your card. So you're just going to clip it like this. If you want to, you could cut it to the edge of the frame instead, but I found that this blended really well and you don't notice that it's gone. If you go to the frame, then you'll notice that it's really gone. But over here, it blends quite nicely. So that, again, becomes a preference of what you like, what you don't like. All right, so now I just got to put some foamies on the rest of it to put it up to the same height. And I didn't want to put them on because I was afraid that they may grab too soon. And I wanted to have the opportunity for it to I wanted to make sure that if I had to move it, I wasn't going to have to pull out a whole bunch of things. Okay, guys, this is our most complicated card. So that wasn't too bad, right? Got to put the foam up here at this top end. And then we've got the stickers to put on. For time's sake, I'm not going to put my stickers of the happy birthday and the hearts on this one. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it and put them on a little bit later so you guys aren't sitting there watching me put on stickers. There is a trick to these stickers, though, that I wanted to point out, so I better actually at least talk about that. Wanted to make sure that I didn't lose any of the items. And of course, it's the one sticker that I didn't keep with the card. There it is. It just moved. Okay, on this, for here, sorry guys, my phone's ringing. Okay. I took out not only the outlines for my hearts, so I took and put them on here, not upside down, but on here, and not on the table. Okay, so I took out my outer lines, but then I also took off the inside hearts and it filled it up, and you can just put them at whatever angles you want to. So when you get over here to the double hearts, you're going to take your little piece, and I don't have my happy birthday on, so I'm not sure exactly, but see how it's needs maybe a refresh. It's stuck. Sorry guys, I know that I'm still here in the little box, but it takes a moment. There we go. Hi, Thelma. So then you just take your other little hearts off of there as well. So it really fills up your card because you're not just using the outlines, you can use those too. And if you wanted to make them blue or red, you could do that, and then they would just kind of have a little bit of a sheen. In fact, I might do that if we have enough time and see what it looks like later. Okay, so that is our shaker card. The next card that we need to make, because of the way that the cardstock works for cutting, we'll need the rest of our cardstock over here. Here's our little piece here. And let me see which one of these it is. think it's the happy birthday card. Yep, it's the happy birthday card. So it's this card that you set aside, the one that is the true European A6. It's still blurry. Are you guys seeing this okay? Because if you are, I'm not going to worry about it. Oh, there. I think if it gets too close, it just doesn't like it.
Thanks.
So this is the one that we're going to do. And if you can notice over here on the side, we've got this little line over here that you don't see on the other side. And that's because it's the other end of that boat corner that we cut off of our 5x7. So this is where we're getting our card from. You're going to get that right on your European A6 and put it all the way across and then cut. Okay, and when you cut the top, you'll need the top. So don't throw this part away. Okay. Because you want it. Okay, let's see if I can put this one on. Not backwards on the back of my card or upside down. Hey, this craft style tape, I really do like that feature about it. It is permanent and it sticks like crazy within about 2 minutes. But if you put it on, it will let you peel it right back off again if you need to. But only for that first little bit. It really is amazing. And leave it up to me to be able to find out that it had that feature. Because I need all the help I can get. Okay. Sorry, guys. I know it's backwards for you with the left hand, but it's what you get today. I think I'm just going to cut it off. I would rather do that than accidentally make a horrible line in it. Okay, so this is our cardstock that we have. We're going to set it aside. You can put it with the silver and ripple holographic paper from hot off the press. You can put it with that, and that will, that's what you're going to use that piece for. Okie dokie. So far, this is what I have left over. And that's all we've got so far left over from this piece of paper. Okay. So the first thing that I did was I went and I moved this paper as far to the left as I could. I put it at the very bottom, but I moved it all the way over here. I kept it low so that you don't see the white, and I cut off this section. Now, we already had cut off with the last one another section, and I may end up using it, I may not. But this is our other section that I had cut up. This one, however, gives you that 3D all the way across, because this boat is the same as this boat. Haha, took me a while to... Well, actually, it didn't take me too long to figure out that, hey, I had matching boats and I can do this. So that is exactly what we're going to do with these pieces. Going to put them on our fake little piece of water that's just in one corner, but that's how we make it. I did cut off the little red boat that's up higher. I'll show you here in just a second. I went ahead and cut this at the angle that it is at, instead of here. You can see that my card right here, and I know it's awful close, but right here, there's an angle so that I kept my roping the entire way across, which gets rid of this little red boat when we cut it. So just follow your angle of your rope with your scissors. And I think personally that bigger scissors, so you can just do it all in one stroke, is better. And then of course I have more than one stroke. There we go. So we put it across at that angle so you still see the rope and it looks like it's meant to be here and not awkward. Cut off your tip if your tip is a little bit too long on the bottom. And then from here, we're just going to put up our little pieces. My little boat fell into my other card example. So here's our other little boat that's going to go right here. So let's put on our great Make It Fast foamy squares. Hi, Laura. And then I cut a couple of smaller ones for the two little towers, ship towers, just because I wanted to make sure that it had the lift, because these will be the most likely part to break down with time because they're the thinnest part. And this one I think I got a little big, so I'll have to go back through and snip it with the little scissors. Somebody framed with flowers.
Laura made an Easter card that she framed it with flowers some way.
Try to put my boat on upside down. So this side, I'm just matching it with the corner over here. And then we'll just let it blend right into that area. Yes. Okay. So we're going to put on our little boat. And there is another boat that I put on the bottom right here. It's right here and it's separated out. But I think I put that with the wrong one. It's either that or I cut it off of one. So bear with me. We'll probably have to do that towards the end because I won't find it, how you lose things on your craft table. One of the little boats fell in and got caught in here earlier, so might as well look. Okay. Okay, so for this one, when we make the frame, I'm just taking this and putting it up on foamies, clipping it to fit the frame. I tried to get as much of the red as I possibly could in, so it's right on the edge of that red. And if you notice, it only has maybe 1/8 of an inch available in this one little tiny strip. So good news is that if you don't have enough for that strip, you can always back it with a little bit of this. So if you got it cut and it cut funny, then you can always use your one little piece that you have at this point to help back it up. Okay, so this is a glue job, not a foamy job first. No, actually, I take that back. I think I am going to build up the frame first and then glue it. Okay, so I'm just going to take and cut my strips thinner. Hello, Mary. How are we on time?
5:14.
It's too fat. Looks a little thinner. So my dad sent me a message earlier today. I want to say today. It might have been yesterday. Not positive. My days are blurring these days. So, anyways, he sent me a message and he said, I'm coming up next week to plant dahlias.
Oh.
I went, and so then I got a message a little bit later that said, you didn't answer my question about coming up next week. And I said, oh, I didn't realize it was a question. And so he said, well, yeah, of course it would be a question. So anyways, sometimes, your parents. So he's coming up to plant dahlias at my house because he doesn't have any more room at his house. And we're looking at combining family spaces, and we're in that process of getting ready to move forward. I think that my dad is looking at possibly putting the house up on the market in September. So in order to keep some of the flowers, he's planting them at my house. And I said, well, what happens if we find a house that we all agree with and what we want? And it's time to put my house on the market before you can dig them up. So, anyways, we'll see what happens, but he's going to make sure that he digs up the tulips that and split them because they're dahlias that he separated out last September. And so, because of that, you have to plant them in the early spring. And
so does he dig them up every fall? And
not
store them
always.
over?
No, not always. We've done it. We've both done it back when we had when we knew that it was bad winters. But his made it through the ice storm last year. Mine, however, did not, and he didn't. They did not have as bad of weather as they have in the past. So a lot of times their place is buried in snow and we haven't gotten any.
Right.
And then we'll get it some days, but this year was actually pretty light. This is a little late, but it's been pretty light. I'm putting the tape on and then I'm just gluing around the edges. Because I want to give it just a little bit more stick and a little bit of maneuverability to get it where we want it to be on the. That was interesting.
Say hi to Mary Lynn.
Hi, Mary Lynn.
She was at her grandson's soccer game.
Well, that's good. Okay, I just put it up a little bit behind the boat to make it feel a little bit more 3D. You can decide whether you want it higher up or not higher up. And then because the foamy is basically putting this right up onto the frame, I just put a little tiny bit of glue on the tip so that it attaches to the frame and doesn't bend with time, because you don't want a bent up little mast. Okay, and then I just apply my happy birthday sticker. See, it was really easy. That the shaker card really does take the longest out of this set of cards. But we were making a shaker tape from scratch. We made our own frame.
You did.
So something totally different. That's the goal. At least that's my intentional goal. This little guy, the stickers like to stick in the middle of the vowels, the D and the between the I and the T. So sometimes you just have to coax it into place and get those little pieces out. No. Last time I made too much of a gap in there, and this time I didn't. I moved my happy so that it would be over and helping out, but apparently it still needs to be over here. There we go. These birthday stickers really are a nice size for doing something like this. So now we look like we've made this little little piece. Oh, it was so intended for this, right? Who knew? Okie dokie. So number 2 card down. And I found my little boat. So I'm going to add him right on here. So he's going to go to cover up this little angle that they had on all these. We're going to make that just kind of disappear so that it blends the entire thing all the way across. So I was hoping that I would find him before class ended, just to see with intention the things to look at when you're looking at planning out your cards. What's forcing you to make sure that you're putting this in your buildup? Oh, I don't want this. Showing I don't like how it looks. Try to find different ways that you can trick the eye into believing that it was meant to be there the whole time. And just like that, I've got a little foamy in there, and you'd never know that that's not part of the picture to begin with. So that is a way to look at these deco kits, to stretch them. So sometimes I'm stretching them out and trying to find different ways to make it work with what I want to do with it. And sometimes I have to go, well, that idea isn't going to work after I kind of look at it a little bit further to break it down. But with time, I'm getting a little bit better at understanding the pieces, that all the ins and outs of making these cards. Okay, so remember, this is going to be our DL card, but it's not really a DL card because we're going to cut it a little bit shorter. So here's our card stock. Here is our little card that we're going to do. As soon as I saw this, I wanted to use this Ripple holographic paper. I knew that I was going to use this. And this is one of those things where you have to kind of make it work, right? So you have to think it through and go, okay, how am I going to make that work? Because it's silver and the rest of it is all gold, and I'm not going to like that, as well as I've never seen silver oceans before. So that's the first thing that we're going to do with this, because we're going to let it have a chance to dry before we start messing with it too much. So when I said that you needed a paper towel, and I think I'm going to use her stencil mat because I don't want to get things messy. I grabbed her stick, her Intensity Bic pins. This one, if you bought the Intensity pack from us, this is the platinum silver and the sapphire blue, but you can use any alcohol marker, Sharpie, you name it. You want one that is going to be about the base color that's here, because you want to be able to blend. If I set it aside here. Here we go. If I put that blue on all by itself with none of that silver, this is how dark it's really kind of hard to see. At the very top, see how much darker that is? And it was the wrong color for the rest of the water. So if you're looking at the water, if I had made my ocean that color, it wouldn't have looked right around all of this other color of the water. So I went ahead and I diluted it down with the same kind of color. Now this is going to be approximately, I'm just going to give it a little place to cut. Do we sing to her? Is that allowed? It is Lauren's birthday today. So I'm sure that she loves it. I just told everyone that. But see, I'm not her mom, so I can maybe get away with it.
It's okay. It feels like everybody on the earth already knows. Like, yeah, what else happened?
Okay.
We did tramps across the whole parking lot with like a dozen giant balloons that announced to everyone, even people who don't know me, that it was my birthday.
Oh, how funny.
I met multiple people in the parking lot who felt the need to comment that I don't know.
So you're just going to take the silver, and you may think that you are totally ruining it. But all I'm getting is a base of mixture so that it will blend with the blue. And then if you've put too much blue on, you'll know here in just a second, and you can always reblend it with a little bit of silver. You're just going to take your paper towel and wipe off any of the excess. Yeah, I think I like that. And it's because it's on the holographic paper, it doesn't necessarily wipe off of most things, as we know, like cardstock. It's not going to touch that. But since this has an entire foil area, it's going to let you wipe it on down. And you can put little lines through it to make it a little bit darker if you've gone a little too hog wild crazy. Like I said, you can always get in there and use your silver. So I'm going to just show you right here with this. I don't know if you can see it or not. I should have used your magnets, and then I could have shown you guys this way. This way. Okay, so right over in here, it's a little dark. And so I'm going to just take and rub a little bit of the silver over the top and just do it again with a little bit of blue. And by doing it that way, when I wipe it, sorry guys, when I go to wipe it, it will just blend those colors a little bit better. And now I've lost that area that wasn't as well, that was a little bit too dark for my liking. So I don't know, see the blues? And it moves in with the silvers. So it doesn't show quite as well when I pull it back here, but I think that you can still see the blues comparatively. So if I take and I put my silver up to this side, for example, you can see the difference of the blues to the silvers. So that is how you color some holographic paper if you want to change its color. And silver would be the one that you would want to grab most often, because you would be competing with the yellows and the gold for anything else. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, last thing I'm going to put on, because I want it to make sure that it's going to dry. We obviously were able to wipe it across and I don't want it to start wiping off. So I'm just going to set it over here, get my paper towel away from it so I don't mess with it anymore. It doesn't take long to dry, but I found out the hard way that it was, I'm going to have to wash her mat. It doesn't take very long, but before I had been afraid that I was going to wipe it off, and I didn't realize that it was on my hands. It was kind of everywhere. So this time around, I've got a little bit on my hands, but it's not as bad as it was the last time. Okay, so we have this boat. Jim is jumping on the bandwagon. Okay, so in this one, we have this boat, and we have these two little guys right here. Wrong boats. There we go. I think this this will fit. Almost. Okay, boat number 1. This is going to be that little mast on here again, so I'm going to make a few thin strips to go with the boat. It's so odd to think that Sunday is going to be Easter. I feel gypped in my holidays the last 2 years. It seems like every time that I think that, okay, I'm going to be prepared and I'm ready to go, but I don't know about you guys, either I'm getting slower or life just takes a little bit longer with COVID, whether it's a line or having to order your food on the computer or because you don't want to go inside the store. And I think that for a lot of people, Portland had a mask mandate all the way up until March 12th, ever since the thing happened. And a lot of people didn't have the lockdown that we've had here. So I think that for us, we're just kind of starting to feel like you can go somewhere and it's not a problem. If you've got your shots and if you do the things that you need to do in order to stay healthy. So for us, the idea of going out and going places, it doesn't click in as much. And so usually that's one of the times that our family gets together. We do a brunch, we do a egg hunt, and we normally go out somewhere to brunch. It's been that way ever since my children were little, and we would save up for being able to go out to brunch. It was a big deal because we didn't always have. We saved up for that. It was an important family outing for us. So I think that I feel it stronger. What is it that we're sold out of, Bryce? I'm sorry. I just want to make sure.
They are sold out of.
Bye, Lauren.
Bye.
It was a what?
I thought it was a brush.
A brush?
Yeah, a dye brush.
Oh,
Hunkydory dye brush, I believe.
The one that Debbie was talking about that came in was not a Hunkydory brush. I believe that it was a different company. Can you try typing in dye tool? I believe what I saw it was sitting in a bucket the other day for What's New Wednesday. I think it was sometime last week. It was a cream color instead of the.
I could have swore we got at least one dye brush in.
From Hunkydory?
Yeah, because I have the purple handle.
Yeah. There was a cream one too floating around. Guys, it might have been because I saw it in my pod listings that I need to finish doing. We're kind of taking a little bit of a slower week this week for listings. Okay, so I'm taking the extra that we have and I'm putting it as much as I can make right here on the card. Remember, we're going to cut off that other part. I want to put it as close to the top as I can get it so I can cut this other piece off. What was that?
Nothing's coming up.
Nothing's coming up. Well, guys, it might be in one of my pod finds that I'm supposed to be listing very soon. So that could be it. Okay, so we're going to take and we're going to put our paper right there like that. We're going to add this paper. Okay, and since I have to butt this one up to the other piece, I want to make sure that I get this on as straight as I possibly can. So I'm going to take, I think I want this side down. I don't want them overlapping or else they'll leave a bump. And as it stands, disappear for a minute. These are my extras left over from that cardstock piece of paper. So this is it, guys. I used it as much as I possibly could. Okay, so I'm just going to cut it. Actually, I'm going to cut it this way, straight down.
Looks like 3 of those brushes came in and all 3 have sold.
Oh, wow. Okay, thank you for checking, Bryce. They said that they had sold out, but I thought, well, maybe. It seemed like I saw more. I'm not promising that there's some in the pod, but I really do think that there might be. Okay, so I've cut off the edge on this side. I'm going to cut off the bottom because I had a little bit left over of the white, a little bit more. And the way that you hide the fact that you have this very interesting little spot right here is you just take your piece. I moved it all the way over so you could see Scent with Love, which is on there. So I cut it right at the beginning of sending so that it would poke out so you could see it. It's too big. No, I do not believe that it's come in, Roberta. Okay, so I'm going to just take that, put it right on here. Okay, now I'm just going to take my little boats and they blend in here perfectly. I can use it to move this wherever I want to. So I can move it down, I can move it up, I can move it over, and it works. So I think I'm going to put mine there so that you can see the word love. And I might even end up cutting off a little bit of the paper down below so that I have the space. So I'm going to take my foamies, put them on. Okay. You have your dye brush somewhere around there? Yeah, I think I have one too, somewhere around something. It has a place in everything. I'm being a little sarcastic. That tends to be my answer as to I don't know where everything is, but everything is pretty organized right now. So I'm actually, that's not true. I know where it is right now. Maybe not for long, but for right now.
Right now. An alphabet height and put away.
Okay. This back a little bit further. Okay. Here on this corner, I had it stick over a little bit. It's rounded, so it didn't give me the look that I really wanted. If I pushed it over, it would look really odd with the water. And I'm going to point out what I also did over here that made this feel like it was more intentional than a shape. So, because it was really bothering me. I'd already slid many of them off or cut them off, as you saw. But in this particular case, I just went in with little piece of foamies and I cut out the darker pieces. Just kind of wove around it and cut out the darker pieces. And then it just kind of opened itself up to just blend with the water. So the reflection is still happening with the boat. I didn't cut any of the boat reflection out. I just changed that shape so it doesn't look like, well, what's that doing there? Blend in a little bit better. Sorry, I'm over on this side tends to blend in better just because it's a lighter color. And so I'm not as bothered by that side. But this side with that dark, it just doesn't, it really stood out. So, okay, I just took my little thinking of you sticker and we are done with number 3. I am not going to put it on there, but I just put it right up there. Okay, now my instructions for the day. I am saving all of my little cut off pieces unless they're just really tiny little, because I may end up, no, I think I got everything. Actually, I take that back. I got everything. So we don't need to keep any more of our pieces. I had already used my tricks. Okay. Lots of tricks. Tricky, tricky. Okay. This one is pretty simple. We were discussing the reason why our envelopes were not fitting and bags were not fitting our DL cards from Craft Style. We could put the envelope inside the card inside the envelope, but the bags that we've had to put the DLs in, we couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. And so last week when I put these together, I went to go grab some mirri, and they're just slightly off from each other. So it may be the reason why we have a problem with the envelopes fitting inside those clear bags. So if you're wanting to put protector covers over the top of them, that might be the reason why they're just ever so slightly off. So I don't know. I sent out all the craft styles, and I had run out up here in the store. So I actually grabbed the Hunkydory one because I wanted to make sure that I told you guys about the difference that I was noticing. It is ever so slight. It's like 1/8 of an inch, but it's just enough that if your envelope is a certain size, then it's going to matter. So so on the card that I have on here, a portion of it goes over the side of the card, just a little tiny bit. And
the mirri goes over the card.
I'll show you here in just a second. The mirri is fine, just the top right over in here, and the bottom just slightly. It's not even 1/8 of an inch on both sides. You can kind of see how it goes over a little bit on each side because of how big this framed piece of card is. So just make sure that when you're putting on these sections that you remember to give yourself that space and don't try and put it all on the top or all on the bottom. And because I sent you guys with the craft style ones, it will mean that you have a little bit more space and a little bit more room in your envelope. So I think that you will not have a problem with too much hangover, but I think for me with the Hunkydory, since it has ended up a little bit smaller, I think that I'm going to have to trim it down a little bit. Okay. Goodbye to all of my directions. See you later. See, look at all my directions. It's in gold too. Okay. Alrighty. What I did with this one is I trimmed down the red to 3 3/4. And it's probably going to be somewhere between 7 1/4 and 7 3/8. So first off, I'm going to move to the 3 3/4 mark on this one. If you decide that you want a bigger red piece on your card, you totally can do that. Here's what I did. If you wanted to show your mirri just a little bit more, you could always cut it even smaller than what I did with this one. So this is 7 3/4. So it literally is just kind of really edging it at that. You're barely going to see the red. So barely going to see the gold. So if you want a little bit more gold, you can always cut it off a little bit. I liked it really subdued, but it's kind of your choice. And so I think I'm going to go ahead and do the cut at 7 3/8. And then if I think that it's too short or too long, I can always go a little bit shorter, but I can't get it back. I mean, I could, but it would be messy. Messy, messy, messy. In this particular case, don't cut it 7 3/4. 7 3/8 I betcha it was supposed to be just a little bit longer. I might not have written down my numbers right. Try 8 3/8. Doesn't even do good to follow my directions. How silly.
That'll be all right.
Okay,
though.
I
It'll
think
still
that will
work.
be okay. Alrighty. Hey, you gotta roll with the punches, right? Good night, Thelma. Enjoy your company. Use my tape flags. Okay. This 3D is just this piece over the top of this piece. It fills up the whole bottom space, so you don't have to worry about the little curves there like we have with the rest of them, because they fit perfectly here. And and there was a couple reasons why I chose it to go here. One is I wanted the full scene for this part, but I didn't want to hide the street, because if I had filled it in with my bigger one, it would have taken away truly that 3D that you get with that effect of the boats are closer than the house. Got a little bit of glare, but see, if I lift it and I give it a little bit extra, I've got the boats in the foreground and the houses not only in the background, but it makes you think that by that fence is a little walkway, because you're giving it that extra oomph. And what I did is I just took our foam and I went one, and the foam tape is thicker than some of the other ones, but that's okay, because if I remember right, I went 2 layers on this just to give it that extra shadowing. I'm pretty positive that that's what I did. Let me see if this is going to be thick enough one time. No, I really want the 2 layers. You don't have to if you don't want to. That's okay. But it plays tricks on the eye, and it thinks that it is fur. It really does give it that 3D dimension that makes you think that there is a walkway there in front of the houses. And then just remember that you'll have to put 2 layers on your little masts. And I'm not going to take the time to cut out the little mast ones, because I want you to be able to get out of here at a reasonable time, and that Lauren and Bryce will be able to go get some dinner for Lauren's birthday. So I'll put that here. Oh, oh. Oh dear. I should have tape flagged this, I think. Oh, it's having a tough time coming off. Woof. Okay. It did not damage one single thing. Made it curve, but it didn't even like put the ridges in it or anything. So that's pretty amazing. Okay. So there we go. And because my red is a little bit smaller here, I might not. Yeah, I think it will work. I was going to say I might not be able to get this little round piece on here, but it may just work out. Okay. Night, Alice.
Let's see what Mary meant by watch orientation, Margie. Say hi to Karen.
Hi, Karen. It's not upside down. I tricked you. But it almost was going to be. It was definitely heading that direction. Okay, so definitely remember that the red paper will need to be 8 3/8 and not 7 3/8. Because then we would have it and it wouldn't feel quite so crunched in the space, I think. But I'm not sure. We'll see. I think I'm going to see. I think that's what I'm going to do. This part, I did the top all the way to the top. If you don't like it all the way to the top, I think that that's kind of a preference thing. A lot of people might feel like it needed to go on the red and not all the way down, but I kind of like it down all the way on the edges. And in this particular case, I think it's going to benefit me because not only do I have a really small space, but I have a really small space between the red and the gold. And so I think that that helps me out a lot. If I didn't have that small little space, it probably wouldn't look as good to turn around and put the border from the top to the
edge of the
bottom.
flag or the pole. It almost looks like a flagpole, which boats have flags on it.
So I think, now, what were you thinking about?
Instead of centering it on that border, moving it over so it kind of just barely touches it. So then it looks like a flag.
Up higher?
Yeah, a little bit.
Like that?
Yeah.
Is that what you were thinking?
That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Assuming that's the correct way.
There's no rights and wrongs.
Well, upside
you get
down.
to decide. It's not upside down.
I can't tell from the side. I can't see that detail. But there you go. Yes.
Okie
Does that look
dokie.
like a little flag?
It does look like a little flag. Good idea. I ruined it when I tried to pull it back up. Yeah, Mary R, the only way that I've been able to pull things for the most part back up is if I'm using my craft style. In this particular case, it just happened to let me pull it on up. But I also was covering that section, so even if it had a little bit of warping, I wasn't going to worry about it because it's going to be hidden with this top piece. But really, craft style is pretty much the only way that you're going to get away with that and not damage it. And that's if it's got a covering like Hunkydory has on their papers. You can't really pull it back on even Hunkydory's Matte-tastic because this has a coating on it, and it makes it really nice for being able to lift back up. You put a card on upside down. This is what I do. I cut it right here on the line. I use my cutter when I do that, not my scissors, because I want to get it in a nice straight line, and I flip it the way that it's supposed to be and put it on another card.
Yep. That's the solution.
So that is the answer that I have most of the time. Now, if you happen to get this on upside down, then you could still cut off the card and put it the other way. I think that it would just depend on if you had an orientation in the background that you were putting on upside down. So
yes.
I hope that you guys enjoyed this evening and that I didn't take too long. Was I good?
You're 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Yep. Look at that. Okay. I believe you guys can all correct me if I'm wrong. But I believe what we're going to be doing on Saturday is she's going to use the examples of these little cards and different ways that you can use them for a die set that we got in. It's a really neat shaped card. I think that's it.
Nope,
yes.
We're going to make cards, and those are going to be 2 of the projects.
There you go. So I think that part of the goal was to be able to use your Jamie Sparkles so that you could look to see the different ways that you can use some of the new Studio Light items and using that Jamie Sparkle background, because that is what is on here. This is not pre-made. This is not a pre-made
topper.
Not a pre-made topper, but it also is not a these pieces are created when Debbie had done the Jamie Sparkles last year for classes, and we grabbed it because we always have all those extra papers to be able to use them when we want to use them for demo. Because you can make so many different things with this, and somehow or another we lost this one piece. I don't know how, but it just somehow found its way off the paper. So these are the 2 items that she's going to make and show you guys. Look at what she's got there. She's got the sequence, the blues that I just used, and she's got the little stars that were here. So those are some of the same pieces of confetti that I had used. So she is going to show you how to make this wonderful 2-card set on Saturday, and probably my guess is talk a little bit more about the ways to use your Jamie Sparkles background papers that you've already made.
I think so. The 2 cards, and then she'll probably add some more.
Yep. So those are Saturday's cards. And I don't know what this green piece of paper is, but I'm putting it back where I found it because. And then this is our kit for next Thursday. We have a Get Well Soon. I made the decision that rather than doing a separate demo video for you guys, that I was just going to turn around and make the same bow again and do it right, because I don't know what I was thinking last time around. I think that I just had forgotten what I'd done. Really, I'd done it a secondary time right before we got on camera, but I could not for the life of me seem to get it to stay. And as soon as I was off camera, of course, I was able to remake it. Roberta says, have a wonderful dinner with your girls.
We'll try.
So we've got our little their little kitty and bows. We have this little one, all of her neat flowers. And then I played around with different ways to try and decorate up that empty frame, because we've used this trick before, right, with the empty frames with the velveteen. And I knew as soon as I saw this one that I wanted to use it with our bubblegum velveteen. I knew it would be perfect, and indeed it is the best color.
Perfect match.
Here's our wishing you a special day as perfect as you are. I tried to figure out ways to make the butterflies show up in a few different places. And here's this one, and yes, it looks very strange, like I somehow didn't do what I was supposed to do, right? It just looks wrong. But if you flip these open, you now have a double easel card. Isn't that neat? It took me a while to be okay with the fact that that it looked odd this way. But it really does. It really does work very well when you open it. And don't throw any of the pieces away in your kit. And you will only get these in your kit because they're actually a scrap. You know that every little piece thing that I say? This is a scrap off of our punch out 3D toppers. No, not our 3D toppers, but our punch outs for our 3D butterflies from Hunkydory from a few years back. And Debbie has been holding on to the papers because we have bigger ones down below, but they were too big for this. And I went, yeah, but I can make this work. So I actually threw in a scrap in the kits. So you have a little scrap butterfly and you're going to go, what is this for? Well, I'm going to point out it's for this right here. So we are set for next Thursday, and we'll see you again soon, guys. Have a great evening.